Shalom, shalom. I'm gonna get straight into this lesson. Got a lot to get to. So let me open up the first scripture. But this lesson is gonna be going into how Israelites look out of the Bible. Are you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans? That's where you descend from, whether you know it or whether you don't know it. It's the truth. And towards, going back into the book of Baruch 2 and 30, in the land of our captivities, that we will remember ourselves. We was gonna wake up till we was Hebrew Israelites. Yasharallah. All right. Luke 8 and 17. For nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. All right, it's this truth and how this devil has lied and distorted history. Go to another read. It says, for all that is secret would eventually be brought into the open, and everything that is concealed will be brought to the light and made known to all. That's going back into the elect of the nation Israel. So let me get into this lesson. Got a lot to get to. So what's stored in our people imagination in their mind, is how that the Israelites look like this. That's why they do this propaganda movie called the Ten Commandments. I did a lesson on this particular movie in particular. You can find it in my lessons. But you see how everybody is so-called white. This would be the nation of Edom. And they play this movie every so-called Easter, right? Which is a pagan holiday anyway. Right? When you look at Moses, he had been a so-called white man. Right? You see, this is psychological warfare. So when we tell our people they the Israelites, they can't fathom it because of psychological warfare. Let's go into that definition. Going back into this scripture, how everything that's coming out in the open now is being known to the elect, all the lies and the deceit, deception, and all the ill dealings of the so-called white man. All right, now people got a problem when we call out the so-called white man as well, because they under something called Stockholm syndrome. It says psychological warfare. Let's go to what I was looking for, Salakia. Okay, let's go to this one. It says psychological warfare involves a mental or emotional type of battle as opposed to physical combat. So what has happened right here, this is the one I was looking for. It says psychological warfare. It says the planned use of propaganda. So right here, this was a propaganda movie. And all the so-called white man movies, his literature, his TV shows, um, cartoons are all propaganda to brainwash you, to make you think the Israelites were so-called white people, like they look like this. This is all psychological warfare, and it's done on purpose to brainwash you, to indoctrinate you. And these devils know exactly what they're doing. I'm gonna read this again. Salakia. It says psychological warfare, the planned use of propaganda and other psychological actions having the primary purpose of influencing the opinions, emotions, attitudes, and behaviors, right, of people. Right. So that goes back into how people are drunken in the wine of Babylon. It affects their emotions, it affects their opinions, it affects their behavior. So when we tell them the Yashala, they the children of the Most High, they don't believe it because of this psychological warfare, this devil. And this will be a more accurate depiction as our people, know as Moses. All right. But try to tell them that. And these are various images and artifacts and that proves that how the Egyptian and the Israelites look. You see them right here. And they put over taskmasters over our people. Some like a modern day supervisor that afflicted our people. Right? See right here. So-called black people, brown flesh people. But that's not what they showed you. All right. And I'm gonna get into some books and some information that proves this. So let's go to some of this psychological warfare. So the psychological warfare starts in your mind. And once your mind is indoctrinated or brainwashed, you finish, you done. But this is what the so-called white man has done to our people's mind. He does these propaganda movies, these propaganda shows, these propaganda books. All this literature, everybody is so-called white people. Moses, Joshua, you know what I'm saying? So on and so forth, David, Solomon, right? And he make these period pieces that further indoctrinate our people. But these movies are psychological warfare. And what it's doing is indoctrinating you and indoctrinating your kids. Look at Noah, so-called white man, right? These all these Hollywood, and Hollywood, is from the tree, the holly tree, which is they did witchcraft using that particular wood. All right. So that's why they use these movies to enchant your mind, to cast a spell on you. And when you think about the people out of the Bible, you think about them being so-called white people. Look at this, Saul, Paul, all so-called white people. Did not Paul get mistaken for an Egyptian? And also Moses, if I'm not mistaken, got mistaken for an Egyptian. But you see, they try to brown him up a little bit. But yeah, you got Joseph, David whitewashed the so-called Egyptians. These people are sick, man. Passion of the Christ, that's another one, right? And this was stored in our people imagination. This is witchcraft. This is high-level witchcraft and psychological warfare. So let's go pull some facts. All this BS. So this is where I'm pulling this from. And I recommend you brothers and you sisters pick this up. This is Zonovan Compact Bible Dictionary. There's some heavy stuff in here. So that's what I'm pulling this from. It says ruddy right here where I got it highlighted at. Slakia. Word ruddy. It said a word used to refer to a red or fair complexion. So the Edomites are known, as red people, right? They flesh, their blood shows forth through their skin. That's why they referred to as red. Their description. And this can also mean brownish red hues, like David had brown flesh with reddish hues in it. All right. It says, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews. I'm going to read this again. It says, in contrast to the dark skin of the Hebrews, Hebrew Israelites. All right. So they had brown to dark flesh. They wasn't so-called white people. And scholars put this Bible dictionary together. All right. So they got it right. But you don't see that when you think about the Israelites. You think about them being so-called white people. Let's get more into this right here. And this is book. Let me read the title to you. This is book right here. These are my personal books, right? This one is into Egypt again with ships. All right. I forgot to take a picture of it so I can show you where I'm getting it from. But it's by Alicia J. Israel. And this book kind of go off, but it got some very valuable information in it. It says, for many years, I'm going to read the highlighted part. It says the color of the ancient Israelites. Okay. And it gives the Messiah description. And they didn't give you that when they got, the description that the image they got is from Cedric Borgia. All right. So let me read the highlighted part. It says, for many years, the dominant portrayal, Salakia, of the Israelites have been one of people who had so-called white skin. There's no such thing as white skin either. All right. They are red, pinkish red, and appear to be Caucasian. I'm just going to read it. This is mainly due to the artists such as Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo di Lovoco. And whatever that sound, I'm not going to even try to go there. Both of whom created some of the world's most recognizable depictions of the Israelites known today. However beautiful these artists' depictions may be, they grossly misrepresent the appearance of the ancient Israelites. The reason is for this inaccurate portrayals is quite understandable, since most human beings have a tendency to conceptualize a God that appears as they do. That's what they did. First Maccabees 3 and 48. They sought to paint the images of people that look like them. That's blasphemy. All right. A God that has bodily features such as skin tone, unlike one owns natural, seems foreign. So that's why they went on this campaign during the Renaissance, which means rebirth. The Edomites came back into power and pushed that image of so-called white supremacy throughout the four corners of the earth to brainwash the people and to indoctrinate them. That's what we find ourselves, our people in a bugged out state right now. Right here. It says Israelites mistaken for so-called black Egyptians. There are several instances of Israelites being mistaken for Egyptians in the Bible. This misidentification obviously indicates that the true Egyptians and Israelites have similar skin tone. That's heavy. And I put the scriptures right here. I wrote them in. Exodus 2 and 15 through 19. Moses, I think, got mistaken for Egyptian. And then we have Acts 21 and 37 through 39. Paul got mistaken for, was associated with being a so-called Egyptian because of his skin tone. Because the Israelites was so-called brown flesh people. Were brown flesh people. It says, however, prior to examining the biblical accounts of Israelites being mistaken for Egyptians, it is necessary to touch upon ongoing controversy concerning the color of the Egyptians. It says, according to the Holy Bible, the father of the ancient Egyptians is Mizraim, Ham's second oldest son, as has been already noted. Ham, the progenitor of the African, so-called African races, the dark races, but not the Negroes, right? Let's go here. And I'm pulling this, and this is another, book, Babylon to Timbuktu. I recommend you brothers and you sisters get that book as well. That's too much to get to. It said in the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD. General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state, which is ain't no such thing as Jewish. We're not Jewish. We Hebrew Israelites. With great slaughter during the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa, fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery. The slave markets were full of so-called black Jewish slaves. Yahweh, Jews, Judah, Benjamin Levi. All right, so you can get that book and go more into it, but these be the true depictions of the Israelites. This is actually an artifact right here. You see how they look? So-called black men. Look at this one. This is obvious, and it's Israelite musicians in the Babylonian captivity. These are Israelites. You see the cornrows. You see the so-called dominant black man features. These are so-called black men. And you see they got the fringes at the bottom, proving that the Israelites, you know what I'm saying? That's where we descend from. We're not just making this up. And you so-called white people got a lot to pay for. You the devil, because you won't tell the truth. Let's go here. It says the black, and this is from this book right here, Salakia. Too much to get to. I think I'm going to probably do a part 2. Nature Knows No Color Line. I recommend you get that book as well. That's a heavy book. This is it right here. That's why I'm pulling this information from. See, it'd be so much to get to. I'm just going to start right here at the bottom. It says the black is exhibited by the Jews, especially dark were the Jews of Spain and Portugal. The Portuguese Jews were very dark, says Pritchard. All right. The Duchess, wife of Napoleon's ambassador to Portugal, said that the Jew, the Negro, and the Portuguese could be seen in a single person. So dark were the Jews, especially of Portugal and southern Spain, that many whites thought all Jews were so-called black or dark. There you go. There's much, much more proof, man. There's so much to get to. But again, this is psychological warfare. And this is one of my personal books right here. I got a lot of more images showing you how the true so-called Egyptians look. All right, which we was in there with them. We was dwelling among them as slaves, so-called black men. These are the depictions of the, like I say, it's a mountain. It's a 1720s painting of King David, so-called black man, and Peter and Paul, 17th century. All right, I'm going to just do a part 2. Call Halal Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shah, Ba'ashem, Rakak Wadah. Shalom.